100,000 tons of forged military-grade steel violently displacing the ocean waves. A staggering price tag of $13.3 billion. The USS Gerald R. Ford is absolutely not just a conventional warship. It is a terrifying, self-sustaining floating continent, meticulously engineered with two artificial suns burning furiously inside its impenetrable armored ribcage. We have entirely discarded the archaic, hissing steam boilers of the past century. This apex predator of the seas utilizes violent, invisible electromagnetic pulses to physically hurl 30-ton war machines directly into the stratosphere. Step inside the belly of the beast with me as we surgically dissect the heavy armor plating, dive deep below the waterline, and witness exactly how American aerospace and naval engineers bend the fundamental laws of nuclear physics and electromagnetism to completely dominate the global oceans. Deep within the deepest, most heavily armored V-shaped bowels of the hull, far below the crushing waterline, lie the twin Bechtel A1B nuclear reactors.
Instability in the containment field.
These are not merely engines. They are contained apocalyptic events, utilizing a highly classified level of enriched uranium. These twin pressurized water reactors violently split atoms to generate an immense, continuous thermal output. This nuclear inferno boils highly purified water into superheated steam, which then screams through massive titanium turbines at terrifying velocities. The sheer rotational kinetic energy generates nearly 3 times the electrical generation capacity of the older Nimitz-class carriers. These heavy reactors are practically eternal, designed to operate at maximum combat capacity for 50 consecutive years without ever requiring a single nuclear refueling process. They generate enough raw electrical power to completely illuminate a moderately sized American city, yet every single watt is aggressively channeled into feeding the ship's brutal mechanical muscles. To handle this unprecedented nuclear energy, the engineers constructed a massive 13.8 kilovolt zonal electrical distribution network. This multi-billion-dollar nervous system is specifically hardened to survive catastrophic combat trauma. If a heavy Russian or Chinese torpedo violently detonates against the starboard hull, this brilliant silicon and copper network instantly detects the catastrophic voltage drop. In a fraction of a millisecond, massive solid-state circuit breakers violently slam shut, aggressively rerouting the nuclear electricity around the flooded compartments. The ship simply refuses to die, keeping the critical weapon systems fully energized while the damage control teams fight the incoming ocean.
Check the coupling on
But the absolute
7.
pinnacle of this
secure,
electrical
Commander.
violence
Torque is calibrated.
happens directly on the
Power full and stable on the
4.5-acre flight
diagnostic.
deck. Let us virtually peel back the thick, anti-skid coated steel plating to expose the Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, or EMALS. For 60 years, carriers relied on thousands of tons of complex copper piping, leaky valves, and explosive steam pressure to launch jets. The Ford class completely obliterates that outdated mechanical paradigm. Buried just beneath the flight deck are 300-foot-long linear induction motors. When a 30-ton F-35C Lightning II locks its heavy steel nose gear into the catapult shuttle, the flight deck officer triggers the launch sequence. In exactly 2 seconds, the EMALS aggressively discharges a terrifying 300-megawatt pulse of stored electrical energy from massive kinetic energy storage rotors spinning deep within the ship. This apocalyptic surge of electricity creates a massive traveling magnetic wave. The invisible magnetic force violently grabs the steel shuttle and physically drags the roaring fighter jet from 0 to 260 kilometers per hour in a brutally short runway of just 100 meters. To put that catastrophic kinetic force into perspective, the electromagnetic thrust generated in those 2 seconds is physically equivalent to grabbing a fully loaded double-decker city bus and effortlessly hurling it over a mile-wide river. The acceleration is incredibly smooth, but absolutely violent, pinning the pilot's blood against their spine as the heavy metal bird is literally shot into the sky. Below the deafening chaos of the flight deck, the advanced weapons elevators aggressively redefine the brutal logistics of modern warfare. We completely ripped out the heavy steel cables and complex, unreliable pulley systems of the 20th century. Instead, we surgically implanted massive, permanent, linear, synchronous motors directly into the vertical steel bulkheads of the elevator shafts, generating massive, highly controlled magnetic fields. These invisible forces effortlessly lift 24,000 pounds of high-explosive GBU smart bombs from the heavily armored magazines buried deep near the keel. Traveling vertically at a terrifying velocity of 150 feet per minute, this electromagnetic artery transforms the hollow steel hull into a ruthless, fully automated kill chain designed to continuously feed the hungry fighter squadrons above. But hurling 30 tons of titanium into the sky is completely useless if you cannot drag it back down alive. We must surgically peel back the aft flight deck armor to expose the terrifying mechanical violence of the advanced arresting gear. As a returning Super Hornet violently slams its heavy steel tailhook onto the deck at 240 kilometers per hour, it catches the thick steel wire. Instantly, the digital brain calculates the exact mechanical tension required within a single millisecond. It channels that apocalyptic kinetic energy directly into massive rotary electric engines and heavy liquid water twisters churning furiously below the deck. This fluid friction and electromagnetic resistance safely bleed off millions of foot-pounds of kinetic energy in exactly 340 feet, perfectly stopping the screaming metal beast without violently tearing its fragile landing gear entirely off the airframe. Towering above this mechanical violence sits the radically redesigned, stealth-focused island superstructure, aggressively pushed 140 feet further aft to maximize the lethal aircraft parking real estate. We must dissect the flat, gray panels of the dual-band radar system, combining the X-band AN-SPY-3 and S-band SPY-4 active electronically scanned arrays, blasting massive amounts of electromagnetic radiation into the atmosphere. These highly classified silicon eyes actively penetrate heavy enemy electronic jamming. They can simultaneously track and lock onto a hostile supersonic anti-ship missile, possessing the exact physical radar cross-section of a small baseball hurtling through the stratosphere hundreds of kilometers away. 4 electromagnetic catapults simultaneously surge with nuclear-generated electricity, aggressively launching a devastating 160 combat sorties every single day. The deep, vibrating hum of the A1B reactors perfectly synchronizes with the ear-shattering roar of afterburning jet engines. The USS Gerald R stands as the absolute pinnacle of human mechanical arrogance, violently weaponizing raw nuclear physics and electromagnetism to permanently transform the global oceans into a privately owned American backyard. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below if you want us to aggressively dissect the terrifying atmospheric crushed depths that threaten to implode the titanium hull of a Virginia-class nuclear submarine in our next video.